Welcome to the Forsyth Magazines podcast. I'm Brooke Eagle, your host, bringing you the stories of the people shaping our community. From business owners to local leaders, we'll explore their journeys, passions, and lessons learned. Let's dive in. Hey guys, we are back with another podcast episode, and I have a dear friend of mine. I have Suzy Vaile with us today. Hi, Suzy.
Hello.
So I met Suzy probably 3 years ago or so.
About like that, yeah.
And she has been involved with our Women on the Move conference for the last 2 years, and now she's stuck. I'm never going to let her not be involved again.
I'm happy to hear that.
She did, the first year she was on our panel, and then last year she did a icebreaker activity, or earlier this year, an icebreaker activity that was like, I'm not kidding, one of my favorite parts of the whole day.
Aww.
That was so fun. It just got everybody like hyped up and excited. Because to get, when 250 people are in a room together, it's hard to make them feel connected because it's just such a large group, and you did that. You made us feel connected.
Thank you.
So she did that, and she also was our panelist, led the panel.
Right.
Moderated the panel. I was like, what's that word? Moderated the panel, and she's just an awesome human. So we're glad she's here.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and Suzy does all the things. She's finishing up her doctorate.
Yep.
In May, next May, you'll graduate.
Yes.
And she works full time at the hospital.
I do.
Tell us about that.
So I work now it's Advocate Health, but it was Atrium Health, Wake Forest Baptist, and it's a level 1 trauma center. So I am our lead counselor for pediatric trauma. I see all of our trauma patients, and then I run the Trauma Survivors Network for the hospital.
Okay.
So I'm a mental health clinician and an addiction specialist.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
And then you also do some team building for some local businesses, and might get into more of that once you graduate.
Yeah. I mean, I think the power of connection is just so universal, right? And it really just came born out of friends just naturally talking, and, just like we met, just talking, and people saying, oh, well, I struggle with this, or I really am trying to get everybody on the same page. And it's sort of like that unbiased mediator role, right? I'm not in it all, so I can come in and sort of be like, what are our strengths? And it really all boils down to two things. It's connection and communication all the time, always. Yeah. People are, we're built for connection. Our brains are wired for it. And
that's why COVID was so traumatic for people, I think.
Yeah, because we were all isolated and disconnected, and then I think we got comfortable with that, and so that became a new way of life, and I think people are still really having a hard time kind of getting out of that.
Yeah.
And getting back to connecting with people in person and, intentionally. Yeah. Because it takes effort. And for 2 years, we didn't have to put effort into connecting with anybody.
Yeah. But it's like rewarding. Like the effort is rewarding.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I always laugh and call it that 2-minute rule, because I love to make plans and do things with people, but then as you get busy, or whatever, and then it's those 2 minutes, you're like, why did I make these plans? And then I'm always glad when I go and do it. But if there are those 2 minutes where I'm like, get out the door.
Oh my gosh,
go.
I'm glad it's not just me, because that happens to me all the time. I'm like, why did I do that? And then you get there and you're fine.
So happy, yeah.
But it
has nothing to do with the person or what you're doing. It's you, because it's just like, I'm home and I'm comfortable or whatever.
Yeah. I don't want to leave.
Something I find too is like, I want to be invited to everything, and if I'm not invited, then I'm yeah. But as soon as I'm invited, I'm like, I'm not going there.
Right. I know. It's that strange, conundrum of all of that.
Wanting to be involved without having to do.
Yes. But you have to. My husband got on to me the other day, literally this past week. He's like, Brooke, sometimes people are going to quit inviting you if you don't come sometimes. And I'm like, okay.
I know. My son started calling me a hermit. And I said, listen,
That's funny. Especially, now the weather's nice, it's really hot, but it's like when it's freezing cold, dead of winter, it is very hard to drag me away from my dogs and my sofa.
I'm with you. In a fire, forget it. Football in a fire, I'm not leaving the house.
Yeah. So I want to talk about some mental health things today, because I think, A, you deal with that all the time, but B, I want to talk about how, if you have somebody, a loved one in your life who is struggling with their mental health, how you can best support them.
Okay. Any specifics that you're thinking of?
Maybe just lots of anxiety, depression, don't want to leave the house sort of situation.
Well, I think a really important thing, which I'm really excited to see, at least in our kind of culture now, is people are destigmatizing that, because before it was, oh, you don't need to talk to somebody. I mean, I grew up in a military family, and that whole mantra of like, you just suck it up and put your head down, and, was real. And it almost felt like a weakness if you were struggling with something and wanted to talk about it.
Do you think that's part of, and we'll get back, but do you think that's part of the reason you went into this industry?
I do.
Yeah. I
have a passion for working with veterans, and just, and would love to be able to, be involved in that more, and just seeing what, the military life was just a cool life. And my dad was my hero. So like, just, but yeah. And just knowing what people go through like that, it's a really, and not just for the people that serve, but also for the families, it's the moving all the time, and the, being uprooted and having to make new friends and go to new schools, and, move across the world multiple times. Yeah. It's really cool when you look back on it, but when you're in the middle of it, it's challenging.
Yeah, for sure.
And nobody really gives you a guidebook of how to do that. You just do it. Yeah. And, when your dad goes into the field or gets called into duty, and he's gone for months at a time, and the family dynamic shifts back when he comes home. I mean, there's a lot to it. So,
I'm sure.
So, yeah. But yeah, I wanted to get into, I always had a passion for helping people. And I went to College of Charleston. I finished high school and went to college in Charleston, South Carolina. And I was going to go straight into it. And then my husband and I got married. We started our family. God had different plans for us. And I'm actually really glad, because I homeschooled our kids, and getting to raise them and try different things that interested me, I think gave me a lot of really cool life experience that has really enhanced my ability as a counselor. Things I've walked through, things I've been through, I think has really made my empathy great, because I can actually be like, yeah, I understand what you're feeling, because I've been there too.
Yeah.
I lost my mom to throat cancer in 2015. I lost my dad to Alzheimer's in 2016. And at that time, I just didn't understand it. But I ended up working at Arbor Acres Retirement Community as they're running their wellness center. And all of that I got to pour back into those folks, because I understood, and working with their families. And then just thought, I think it's time to go back to get my graduate degree. So I went to Wake Forest University and got my clinical counseling degree, and then getting my doctorate now. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So proud of you.
Thank you. So helping family, more about that. I think the big thing is just really kind of getting to the root of what's going on for them. Is it something we're talking to a friend or a loved one, or sometimes it's a pastor at a church, sometimes it's somebody that's in their community already. But when it becomes something that is ongoing that they can't really seem to find relief for, I think, just finding a qualified therapist is great, because part of what we do as therapists is just offering, we call it unconditional positive regard. It's just meeting people where they are and being a listening ear we don't give advice, and we don't judge. It's just being able to help. I always tell my patients, I said, think of me like your tour guide. You're telling me where you want to go. Yeah. And I'm giving you the tools how to get there. You're gonna do the work, and you're gonna do the things, because I don't live with you, and I don't, you have to go do the things, but I'm gonna help equip you so that you can go do the things that you're telling me you want to go do.
I think a lot of people, myself included, have been to therapy with the expectation that your therapist is there to give you advice and tell you what to do. But the more I think about it, and when I just heard you talking about that, that's not really your therapist's job or place to do that. Like, you have to figure that out for yourself. Right. And you're the tour guide, like you said. That's a good way to look at it.
Well, because the patient or the client is the expert in their own life. And that's where we come in. We're like, tell us your story, and, where are you? Like, where are you wanting to go? And a lot of times people feel stuck because they don't know where they want to go. And so that can be the other piece of it, of saying, where do you want to go? And you can set goals. There's treatment plans. There's so many different things you can do, from that aspect of it. And then there's, on the flip side of it, for people who have been through, traumatic things, there's EMDR and different types of therapy that you can do depending on what the needs of the client are.
Yeah. I don't know much about EMDR. Can you explain it for people who may not know what that is?
So it is eye movement desensitization. Whoa, I can't say that word today. Anyway, y'all can look it up. But it's essentially bilateral stimulation. It uses both sides of your brain. Now, you have to be certified in it. It's an intensive training that you do, and then you do like a practicum and an internship with it when you do the training, and then you get certified to do it. I did mine in Asheville, North Carolina, and it was very intense, but really, really good. And you want to make sure it's MDRIA certified. Somebody does it. That's kind of the governing body.
Yeah.
But essentially, it works both sides of your brain. Mm-hmm. And so it's really interesting. There's some really cool research that walking or punching a punching bag, doing things that work both sides of your body, in addition to, can be helpful with that as well. So they're starting to integrate that in some of the therapy. Like walk and talk is a kind of a new thing coming up with therapy, because you're walking, but you're also processing what's going on for you. And so your brain is firing on all those different cylinders. So
I love that. I'm a big fan of walking. I think walking is like, if I'm in a bad mood, I go for a walk.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, that's how it was originally kind of discovered. There's some really neat history of it that I won't go into, but I'm just so fascinated by how the body and mind work together.
Yeah.
And approaching people as that whole person, I'm not just going to talk about your emotions. When my patients come in, one of my first questions is, when was the last time you've seen your primary care doctor? Have you had a checkup? Have you had your, vitamin D levels and magnesium or whatever? Has all that been checked? Because, you want to see the scope of the whole person, what's going on for them. Because there's some really interesting stuff that can be connected to all of that. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So, but EMDR helps it's a way that your brain can process trauma in a way. It rewires how your brain sees it, so that it's not so traumatic for you to have those memories and thoughts.
Very interesting.
It is.
Wow. So you do that I'm assuming you have to be kind of like recommended to get something like that?
Yes. And it's not something you just jump into, which I think is a big misconception. It's something where you have to be stabilized first in your therapy with somebody and then kind of go into that.
Yeah.
Because if you're, in this heightened state and, it's not something where, let's just unpack all your really hard trauma, so it's a process, but it can be extremely helpful, especially for PTSD.
Very cool. So as a mom of, you have 3 kids.
I do.
How do your kids handle like their mom being a quote unquote therapist or counselor? Like, how does that affect your parenting, do you think?
It's funny because initially I didn't think it influenced how I would interact with them. But I think my self-awareness and like my reflection skills, like as a counselor, it's funny. I think it's rubbed off on them.
That's good.
And on my husband too, which he laughs about it. But it's that peaceful pause, the thoughtful, it's little things, the nuances of life that you just learn about, in the program and it makes sense, but they are skills that you have to learn and practice. But it's made our marriage great because we talk in a different way. We communicate differently now. It's by no means perfect, but I think, my kids have definitely, it's actually, I think, really benefited them. And I think
I'm sure.
Especially my son. My son has a gift for it. So
that's very cool.
I'm trying to steer him that way.
What you mentioned, the peaceful pause. What is that?
So when you talk to people, so there's 2 things on that. One is, have you ever talk to somebody and you're kind of sharing something with them and you see them sort of inhaling while you're talking and that they're just waiting to talk. And so you're kind of just like, yeah, I'm done talking. Like, just go ahead and get it out. Right.
Yeah.
So that's one side of it. But then the other side of it is like, if you get, if something kind of hurts your feelings or like gets you angry or escalates you, and suddenly you feel this need to like quickly jump back or justify or, you know, explain. And really it's not that. And so the peaceful pause is like purposefully taking a breath and just being like, and then I'll like asking a clarifying question.
Yeah.
So this is what I heard you say. Is that what you meant? Or my favorite is help me understand. Help me understand what you just said. Because what I'm doing now is I am showing you that I'm listening to you, but I'm also showing you that I'm engaged, but that I want you to clarify for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm clearly like something's landing wrong on me and you may not have meant that. Now you may have meant it that way and that's a different conversation.
But typically I feel like people don't. Like,
right.
Like that's with family, with friends, with spouses. I feel like that's been so true. I've kind of tried to get better about that myself, is that you're taking something defensively and that's not at all how the person.
Right. It's not the intent.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that just being able to go, you know, help me understand is a big one. Or
Yeah.
did I hear you correctly just now? Like let me make sure I got this right.
Yeah.
And it's just that, and even just taking that breath, like when you drive, like, I mean, my gosh, like traffic. And so we all, right? I know, right?
I'm a really sweet, loving guy until I'm behind the wheel.
Right?
And then at that point, I become the big Satan.
Right?
Okay, my trick for road rage is, I think Suzy will appreciate it. Maybe it'll be life-changing for Tim too. I don't know. But I don't know when this clicked for me, but it's been a couple years ago, because I used to have really bad road rage. Like I have a scary story that I won't share on here that was road rage related, that was like very dangerous. Like, and it really like stopped me in my tracks. I'm like, that was really stupid. Like, so, yeah, like really stupid. And so I think of my sweet like grandparents, and I'm like, this is somebody's mama or somebody's pop or somebody's who just got terrible news, or somebody who has a cake in their trunk and they have to drive slow because it might topple over. Like there's so many, and I know that sounds kind of like silly, but it's
not at all.
There's so many things that are happening in people's lives that you don't know like that. So I try to think about that, and I like genuinely, like, no lie, I do not have any road rage anymore. Like
whenever I'm behind someone like that, and whatever reason they're going slow, I'm like, if you don't know how to drive it, don't drive it.
Well, that's it, right? But I think it's to that perspective shift, like you said. You know, and I think that can be true, like driving or even in, you know, shopping or the grocery store.
Any interaction.
Most people really, they want connection. They want to be talked to. They want to be loved on. But everybody has their quills out because, you know, we're so afraid of criticism and we're all under this microscope all the time, you know, and thinking and overthinking. And it's like, well, but what if we were just, you know, kind about it? And what if it was, how's your day going today? I mean, I used to laugh about my husband. He is the most engaging, like, how's your day going? And knowing people's names. And now I get it, because I'm just like, that's the power of connection. That's what draws people together. And so if we lean into that and be like, you know, I wonder what kind of day they're having. And now, like, for me, on my way home from work, I like put all the windows down and I drive in silence, but I just sort of like, that's how I decompress.
I'm a silent driver.
I decompress, and it's just like, I start listing, you know, things I'm thankful for. Thank you for the weather. Thank you that I get to drive home. Thank you for my family.
Yep.
And then it just shifts my perspective.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite quotes is that you can't be anxious and grateful at the same time.
You really can.
And I always try to think about that. Sometimes it's hard when I'm in like a really, because I have, it's not a secret that I have like very high anxiety, but I'm on I'm on medication for that.
Sure.
which is such a frustrating process to like find the right kind and the right dosage and all the things. But it's, it does wonders when you hit it right.
Yeah. Well, there's some really great research that talks about, like, two of my favorite interventions for anxiety. We talked about that earlier, but there's some amazing research on gratitude and gratitude journaling and mindfulness. And mindfulness really is that peaceful pause, because a lot of people hear mindfulness and they're like, oh, that's too weird for me. And I'm like, mindfulness is really about being here and now. It's being in your present space and going, okay, like what's going on for me? I call it, for me, it's the tyranny of the urgent. I'll have like, for example, 2 weeks ago, my sunroof broke on my car. Our washing machine broke. I got jury duty summons and something else, like all within 2 days. And it was just challenging, but I had to sit down, and for me, I write it down, and then I just go, like, what's going on right now? And I write them down, and I look at them. It takes about 30 seconds, and I go, what of these can I control? And then the things I can do for them, I do them. And then the things I can't do, I just have to let them go. But that has helped me from keeping it all in my head and just being mad all day and upset. And now my whole day's wrecked over things that I really can't control. And that has been, so that for me is like the peaceful pause. It's let me take a minute and just kind of go, okay, check in what's going on right now. Yeah. Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Did I not sleep well last night?
Oh, the hanger is real over here.
I mean, it's for real. Yeah. There's an acronym for it, for HALT, and they talk about how important that is. So, So anyway, those are my little, and the gratitude journaling too is, I mean, just even being able to, because I see a lot of pediatric patients, well, they don't want to write things down, but I'm like, okay, put it in your phone. Like open a notes tab and just once a day, put something in there that you're grateful for.
I saw something so cool, and it was on like Reels or TikTok or something, where a girl said that she has a note on her phone, and it's called "Good Things Are Always Happening to Me."
I love that.
And she writes every good thing that happens, and when she's feeling like sad or whatever, or angry, she goes and scrolls through her little note.
Right.
Because it's all your perspective. Like I always think, some people say they have bad luck, and I'm like, well, it's your perspective.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Because bad things happen to everybody, but it's all how you look at it.
I mean, and there's some cool science behind that. It's called your reticular activating system, but your eyes are trained to what you look for. And so the more that you look for them, the more your brain starts looking for them.
Like when you get a new car and everybody has that car.
Or like when you think about you have bad luck and you're only, because you're focusing on the quote bad things that are happening to you.
And you miss all the good things.
Right. But if you are intentional about looking for the good things that are happening to you, your brain starts to look for the good things that are happening to you.
What would be a tip that you would have for somebody who's just like notorious for saying like, oh, bad things always happen to me? I have like, for just getting them kind of started in the right direction.
I mean, I think you hold space for both. You can be like, that's really challenging that you feel that way, that those things are happening. Yeah. I wonder if you can name one thing good that's happened today. Yeah. Because it's by trying to negate that, now it's almost like you're piling on to the bad things that are happening to them, right? Because you're sort of invalidating them, being like, well, no, you don't really feel that way.
Toxic positivity sort of
you do
thing.
feel that way, but you can hold space for both. So you can say, man, that really stinks that you're feeling that way. But also like, what's one good thing? Like you woke up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a rough line, I think, because to some degree that person has to decide for themselves. Yes. You can't really, it's a control thing.
It is.
You can't control. I'm a recovering control freak, I like to say.
It is.
But you can't control how other people.
You can't.
And it's very freeing when you
let go of that, right? It's like you offer the tools or you offer the help, but at the end of the day, it's up to them to decide to do it.
Yeah.
And
which
then
is a tough pill to swallow.
It is. Yeah. Because especially when you really want to help somebody and you really know it's going to be good for them. And, as a mom, especially with older kids, and it's just like, but at the end of the day, they're adults and they have to do what they're going to do. So my job is to put it out there and be like, hey, you might want to think about this, and then, hope for the best for them.
Yeah. How do you handle that as both a mom and as a professional for patients that you have who you're leading the horse to water, but they are not drinking?
It's interesting because I think I have to reflect back to it's funny that you said that because I was just doing this the other day. I go back to they're the expert of their life. Like I'm not living in their shoes. I'm getting a thimbleful of what they're telling me, but I'm not experiencing it though. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I have to just keep going, well, what's important for you today? Like what's going to help you today? And just that self-awareness piece of going, I'm not living their life. I'm not, I'm not experiencing, even if we can be in the same room together and we're talking, I'm not going to experience things the same way that they are.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's just that always that exercise of remembering that they're the expert. I often do, before I go into a patient's room, I imagining myself, because I get basic information on what's going on with them. And I imagine myself seeing their chart on a whiteboard, and I see myself erasing it before I go into their room. Because when I come into their room, I want them to tell me their story. I don't want them to be a summary of what I see in their chart.
You don't want to have a bias based on what.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's kind of, for me, that thing of seeing them as that whole person and being like, well, even though last week you were doing great and this week you may not be, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. We can hold space for both.
Oh, this was great. I feel like I just got a free therapy session. Thanks, Suzy.
You're welcome.
So we are like past our time.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. I could talk to you all day. We'll have to have you back on.
I would love to.
And Suzy will be at the Women on the Move conference again next year. So you can catch her there. Where can people get in touch with you if they're interested in like team building? I know you're not like, or do you not even want to put that out there because it's too wait till graduation?
Yeah.
We'll have her back on
Brooke, and then we'll talk from there.
We'll have her back on after she's done with school.
Yes.
And then she's
I would
gonna
love that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
May 2026.
Yes.
It'll be here before we know
I've got a timer on my phone.
Suzy, thank you so much for coming to chat with us. And I know people are going to take a lot away from this episode.
Well, thanks.
So thank you.
I appreciate it.
You can find Forsyth Mags on social media at Forsyth Mags and on our website, forsythmags.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, which I know you did, please leave us a rating or a review. That helps us reach even more people, and we would greatly appreciate it. And that's it. That's a wrap for today. Thanks, guys. The views and opinions stated on this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting companies. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced without expressed written consent of Forsyth Magazines Incorporated. Whew, that's a mouthful.